All right, today we're going to break down a tool that's aiming to completely change how you think about your command line. We're talking about turning it from just a simple tool into an active collaborator. This is Gemini CLI, and it's designed to work alongside you, like a real teammate.
Okay, so let's just dive right in. You know, for most of us developers, the terminal is home base, right? It's powerful, it's fast, but let's be honest, it's always been a bit of a one-way street. You give a command, it gives a response. End of story. Well, Gemini CLI is built on a totally different question. What if that whole interaction was a two-way conversation? What if your terminal wasn't just a tool, but a teammate? Now, to really get what Gemini CLI is all about, you have to realize it's not just another chatbot someone stuffed into a terminal. Nope, it's built on a completely different philosophy, and that's called the agentic paradigm. And this slide just lays out the core difference perfectly. On one side, you have your traditional chatbots. They're kind of passive, you know. They live in a web UI, you ask a question, they give an answer. But on the other side, you have an AI agent like Gemini CLI. It's active, it's terminal first where you actually work, and its whole goal is to complete tasks. It really is the difference between asking for directions and having a co-pilot who can actually help you drive. So, this is what agentic really means. The AI doesn't just wait around for a prompt. It actively reasons about a problem, it plans out the steps, and then it executes them. So if you give it a big goal like, hey, refactor this component to use our new design system, it's not going to just give you a few code snippets. It's going to work through the actual steps to get that goal done for you. Okay, that sounds really powerful, but how does it actually work? I mean, how does this agent think? And what can it actually do in your environment? Let's pop the hood and take a look. At its core is this really simple but incredibly effective cycle called the react loop. First, it has a thought. It thinks about your goal and figures out the very next thing it needs to do. Then it takes an action, like using one of its tools to read a file. And finally, it makes an observation. It looks at the result of that action. And then observation, that feeds its very next thought. It just keeps running this loop over and over again until your high-level goal is complete. And here's the action part of that loop in practice. Look at this tool set. It can read your actual code. It can run terminal commands like npm test to see if your changes broke anything. And this is a big one. It can use Google search. That means no more dealing with stale info from a model that was trained months ago. This is a really powerful, practical set of tools for day-to-day development. So we've got this powerful agent, but how do we make it our own? Let's get into configuration and context, because this is where Gemini CLI really starts to feel less like a generic tool and more like your personal teammate. First up, you get to choose how you connect. And what's fantastic for individual developers is the default OAuth option. With just a simple Google login, you get access to the most powerful model and its massive 1 million token context window, all on a very generous free tier. No API keys to manage. It's just easy. And of course, if you need more control or enterprise-grade security, those options are there too. Now, this is really, really clever. You can give Gemini persistent instructions using simple markdown files. You can set up a global file with your general preferences, then drop another one in a specific project with its coding standards, and even drill all the way down to a single component directory for hyper-specific instructions. And just like CSS, the most specific rule always wins. It gives you this incredible, fine-grained control over how the agent behaves. Okay, let's zoom out a bit and look at the bigger picture. A customizable AI agent in your terminal is cool, for sure, but its real impact comes from how it plugs into the entire developer ecosystem. This number right here, this is the feature that changes the whole game. 1 million tokens. And a 1 million token context window isn't just a bigger memory, it's a completely different scale of capability. It means Gemini CLI can look at and reason about an entire complex codebase all in one go. This unlocks tasks that were basically science fiction before, like performing a huge refactor across dozens of files while actually understanding all of their dependencies. And the best part? It doesn't force you to change your workflow. It meets you where you already are. It's the engine that powers Gemini Code Assist, so you get all this agentic power right inside your IDE, whether that's VS Code, JetBrains, or Android Studio. Plus, with its official GitHub action, you can start automating tasks right in your repo. Imagine having Gemini automatically review pull requests or triage new issues for your team. So, when you look at the competition, a couple of things really make Gemini CLI stand out.
While tools like Claude Code and Codex CLI are incredibly powerful, they're proprietary. Gemini CLI being open source is a huge differentiator. You combine that with its absolutely massive, industry-leading context window, and it carves out a really unique spot for developers who value transparency and need to handle enormous code bases.
And this quote just hits the nail on the head. Because it's open source and built to be extended, Gemini CLI isn't just another tool you use, it's a platform. It's a foundation that the community can build on top of, helping create a future where our terminals are more powerful and collaborative than we ever thought possible. And that leaves us with this final, fascinating question. As these AI agents get more and more capable, our role as developers might just evolve. Maybe the future of coding is less about meticulously writing every single line of code and more about having a high-level conversation, directing a highly capable AI teammate who can handle the nitty-gritty implementation details for us. It's a profound shift to think about.